And we should be live. Welcome to another edition of DT Live. Hope everyone is doing great today. This is Saturday morning here in the US, and I normally don't do a lot of these kinds of live streams. I decided to do one today. I'd actually sent out the notification for this yesterday. And typically I do these streams for usually about an hour and a half or so. And that's what I'm planning on going today, is at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But I do need to try to get out of here as quickly as possible because there is a Mardi Gras parade that is going to be going on here in my city, here in Louisiana. Mardi Gras is a big deal. Of course, you have the big parade down in New Orleans every year, but there's a bunch of different Mardi Gras parades that go on, various days and weeks of the season, right? So here in the next month or so, you're going to have, tons of Mardi Gras parades in various cities here in Louisiana. And today is the one that's happening in my hometown. So there will be, I don't know, probably 100,000 people on the parade route, and the parade route actually is not 50 yards from the front door of my office, like the main area where the floats and everything will be going down. There's already thousands of people already cooking out, grilling food and drinking beer, and then it's tons of RVs, and they've already got a lot of the parade route barricaded and taped off and everything. So the parade won't actually start until later this evening, but of course the festivities, before the parade are already going on. And because they're going to have so much of this part of the city barricaded and taped off, you're going to have all this police presence and, roadblocks and things like that. I'm going to try to get out of here as early as I can, just to make sure I can get out of here. Otherwise, I may just have to join the festivities tonight, just hang out at my office and, go to the party. Yeah, as everyone says, sound is good. That is great. Yeah, I actually did a quick little preview of the sound, so I do know that I was actually being heard on YouTube, which is important. That doesn't happen all the time when we start these things. So today what I was going to do was I was going to work on some of my GitLab stuff. And by work on some of my GitLab stuff, I mean I was actually going to go through a lot of my GitLab repositories. And I've got some merge requests that have been sitting there on some of these repos for a while. I've got a lot of open issues on some of these repos just because time, I'm not a developer. So I really don't like, especially some of the more technical issues people open, especially when they have really nothing to do necessarily with the repositories that I've got on my GitLab. People will just ask general tech support kind of questions on my GitLab repos sometimes. Actually, that's, I would say, half of the questions on my GitLab repos are things that they don't necessarily need to be asking me. They're not, particular to any of my projects, right? But, people, especially, I guess, newer to Linux users especially, often ask support kinds of questions in the wrong places. I've talked about this on video many times. If you want to get quick and good help, right, on any tech related question, you need to ask it in the appropriate place. Too many people, ask just general tech questions on things, like DT's GitLab, about distributions I don't even use, about pieces of software I don't even use. Why are you even asking that on my dotfiles repository on my GitLab? Right? Why did you think that was the place to ask that? Go to IRC chat rooms for support for your Linux distribution or whatever, piece of free and open source software you happen to be using. Most of them have subreddits that you could go ask questions on. Most of them have discords that you can go ask questions on. Many of them, Stack Exchange is a great place to ask any kind of help regarding Linux, regarding programming or scripting. And there's just, in many cases, hundreds, if not thousands of people in those places that are there actively waiting to help somebody with something. Nobody's sitting on DT's dotfiles repo on my GitLab. Nobody's there. Posting a question there is just going to be lost in the void, because who in the hell's reading that thing? I'm not even reading it. You think anybody else is reading the issues on my dotfiles? No. Also, don't post support questions on YouTube videos. I see a lot of people, post questions. Hey, DT, can you help me with my Linux install? Just random. No, for one thing, I'm only one person. And why do you think you need specifically me to help you with your Linux install? Go ask a support forum that has hundreds, if not thousands of people there that, again, are just sitting there waiting to help people. All right? If you go to the right place, you're going to get help. You're going to get quick help. You're going to be amazed by the help you'll get from the community. But again, too many people are asking help in the wrong places where there's literally nobody there to help you. And then they get mad. Well, I tried to ask for help. Nobody helped me. Well, if you ask in a place where literally nobody is hanging out, you're not going to get help. Let's read some of the chat before I get into taking a look at what is on my GitLab. Let's see. I have 14 current, by the way. Oh, what is that? Great. Here at my FreeBSD desktop. Yeah, I haven't played with FreeBSD lately. I do know they had a release recently, like a minor point release, but I probably wasn't going to take a look at that. FreeBSD is an interesting operating system. It's certainly an operating system I would consider running if for some reason I had to move away from Linux for whatever reason. Like if Linux just ever became something I just didn't want to use, or, it was going in a direction maybe I didn't want to go. The FreeBSD operating system would probably be the first one that I would look to explore. Hey, DT, I would like to greet you from Turkey, but you probably heard the news. I have, yeah. Let's see, have you tried BlendOS? I have not. People have asked me about it. I actually got somebody on my Patreon asking me about it the other day. They were more asking me about it in terms of, I guess there's been a little bit of a controversy regarding some of the, licensing and attributions of some of the code that the developer of BlendOS, maybe it's borrowed from other projects. I don't want to get into that controversial stuff because honestly, a lot of that stuff tends to be overblown anyway. But I haven't tried BlendOS yet. I may try it out on camera. It's very similar to Vanilla OS, at least I've been told that. And I thought Vanilla OS was an interesting project. Got my coffee this morning from McDonald's. Last time I did one of these live streams, you guys noticed I hadn't been to McDonald's. You didn't see them. Because almost always I have a McDonald's coffee cup when I do these early morning streams. And last time I didn't go and everybody was like, DT, what's wrong? You quit going to McDonald's? Got my cup of black coffee. I did put a cream in that, one little cup of cream. I've got some cream here in the office as far as we've got a shared kitchen. I keep some creamer. Don't do sugar in my coffee, though. I usually just drink it black or a little cream if I have some. Sometimes I'll even add a little milk at the house. If I don't have any cream, just a touch of milk. It's a nice touch to a cup of coffee. Any Twitch stream? No, I don't do Twitch. Don't know anything about it. Don't have an account. Let's see. Yeah, McDonald's meal. Would you switch to Wayland? I'll switch to Wayland when it's ready, but I'm not going to switch to Wayland when it's not working. Right? There's no point into it. No, not for me. I've got too much work to do, right? I obviously do this kind of video content for you guys, and I'm not going to switch to something that would get in the way of that. These days, I can't deal with roadblocks and bugs and lack of features and things like that. Xorg works, so I'm going to keep working with Xorg until Wayland actually works. Or until Xorg becomes horribly broken, which it's still working. It's still being maintained. Xorg's been with us for 40 years. So you won't have to ask me, to try out Wayland when Wayland is ready, right? When Wayland's ready, everybody will be using Wayland. Right? You won't have to try to convince people, hey, go try Wayland. If Wayland worked, people would be using it. The fact that so few people are using Wayland should tell you it's not quite ready yet. When it's ready, you'll know. When Debian stable ships Wayland by default, that's when it's ready. So when that happens, that'll be the day. Mark it on your calendar. All right, so let's go over to my GitLab. So on my GitLab, you can go to my GitLab page at gitlab.com/DWT1. I've got, I don't know, a couple of dozen different repositories over there. On the home page, you get like the last 10 that have seen some activity, but I could go to view all, view everything. Now, most of these don't see much activity at all. The ones that do, by far, the most popular ones. My dotfiles repository is actually one of the most popular repositories on all of GitLab. So I'm pretty proud of that. You see 1.1k stars, and you see 235 people have forked my dotfiles. Shell color scripts is also very popular, and dmscripts is also very popular. And of course, these are packages that you can install on any Linux distribution. They may work on some other operating systems as well, but they definitely work on any GNU/Linux distribution. Shell color scripts and dmscripts. I've also got them packaged for Arch. They're also packaged in the DTOS core repository, and many people have taken to packaging both of these packages for other Linux distributions. I know somebody has packaged one or both of them for Nix. Someone, I think, has packaged both of them for Fedora. I don't know. We'll take a look at those in just a second. Let's start with the dotfiles repo. I'm going to go back to the home page. Let's go to dotfiles. This dotfiles, let's see. I don't have any merge requests, which I really shouldn't get merge requests on my dotfiles repo unless you're fixing an obvious error. Like, don't try to go to, and this is another thing, and this is just in general. I see a lot of people that go to people's like dotfiles repository, and they'll take somebody's config file. I don't like your choices here. And it's not a bug. It's just, you know what? You should do it this way. I'm going to change your xmonad config or qtile config or whatever it happens to be. My bash config. I'll change this alias. I don't like the alias you chose. I'll do a different alias. Well, dude, it's like, that's all subjective, and don't change the things. Don't go and change somebody's config for absolutely no reason. If it's a bug, change it. I want people to find bugs and change it. But don't be stupid, right? So merge requests, again, that's typically, you're fixing bugs or you're adding new features. You're not necessarily changing existing things, especially to somebody's personal config files. So be careful there. Now, I don't have any merge requests, so let's just take a look at some of these open issues. So, incorrect date logged by notify-log. So I did a video just a couple weeks back where, I get out of full screen here, I added this widget to Xmobar view notifications. If I click on the widget, it's going to show all of the latest notifications that I've had logged here. It's basically a way to have a running log of all your desktop notifications. And notice incorrect date logged by notify log. And that was when I put the video out, it wasn't quite working correctly. And this person actually gave me some new code that I have actually implemented. So I've actually already responded to this. I should just close this issue. So there's no reason to leave that open because I've already taken care of that. I should have closed it when I responded to it. I just didn't. All right, the next issue, Vim-like navigation based for Xmonad. Okay, he says, hey DT, wondering if it's possible to add global add Vim-like notification to shift focus between windows. And by global, I mean that focusing and swapping of windows would work across screens. Okay, so he wants the ability for HJKL movements to actually move focus across the monitors, not just the windows on a monitor. So if I keep hitting H, to move left to the window to the left on a monitor, if I hit H again, it'll move to the next window on the next monitor to the left. It'll work across multi-monitors, I think is what he's wanting here. I don't have this in my config. All right, this is something that's not in my config. I could go explore this option for him But this is something this person. Why do I need to Google this for this person? Yeah, this is one of those things. This was a bad. Yeah, I get it. I know a lot about Xmonad. I don't know every possible Haskell library out there that works with Xmonad. If it's not in my config, was this the best spot to ask this question? Probably not. He probably should have asked this in the Xmonad subreddit, because I know there's one. There's also a Xmonad IRC chat. There's also a Haskell IRC chat. I do a quick Google search though. I'll do a search for the guy. Right. Navigation 2D. Now that might be. Navigation 2D is an Xmonad extension that allows easy directional navigations of windows and screens. Screens mean monitors. It does have some code. I don't think I've ever used this personally in my configs, but I do know it's kind of a popular Haskell library. I'm just going to link to this. I don't use this kind of navigation across monitors, but a quick Google search returns this. Not sure if it helps. A better place to ask Xmonad questions that are not related to my, if I can type, config is r/Xmonad. I'm assuming he'll figure that out on Reddit. Let's comment and close that issue. And you can see why these issues pile up. Why I go weeks or some cases months at a time when I've got like 21 open issues on my dot files, right? It's because it takes some time to go through these. And most of these questions I either can't respond to, or in some cases I just choose not to. So let's try this one. NeoVim config returns various errors. So I use, obviously, my NeoVim config. NeoVim, it's working, right? That was the dashboard, but let's open a specific NeoVim file. NeoVim is not returning any issues. Works fine. Have you run packer sync? Let's make sure packer sync works in my NeoVim config. Make sure it's not an issue like one of the packages is no longer maintained. No, the sync runs just fine. So there's nothing wrong with my NeoVim config as is. And he's got some people that have actually tried to help him. My config works on Arco Linux without any issues. I'll just say beyond that, I can't really help. Closing this for now. I may reopen it if he responds with some more information. Sometimes you'll close something, thinking there's just nothing else to do, and they'll come back with more relevant information. He might actually respond back that he's already figured out what the problem was. A lot of times the problems have nothing to do with necessarily my config. A lot of people, when they say they've using my config and it doesn't work, a lot of times they're not really using my config exactly, right? They've modified it in such a way that they've introduced a bug, right? Or they are trying to use my config as is, but they, instead of doing a git clone and actually getting the proper file, they'll copy and paste it from like the web browser. And the syntax could be a little weird as far as the indentation and spacing. Things could be off. And in some of these scripting languages and programming languages, spacing matters very much, right? So So be careful with that. Anytime you go and you want to grab somebody's config file for anything, just to make sure that you're not screwing up with a copy and paste. Always git clone it if you can. Let's go back to the chat because I know I'm going to be a while taking a look at some of these issues and merge requests. Probably miss some of the chat. DT, have you tried SGPT? It's a command line version of ChatGPT that runs commands locally on your system depending on the input you give it. No, I haven't. I haven't heard about it. To be honest, I just played with ChatGPT for the first time the other day on camera. Just because it's not something I was terribly interested in, to be honest. Although after using it, I do find the technology fascinating. I think once there's some free and open source implementations of some of this stuff, I will definitely probably introduce some of that into my workflow. Let's see. Fake Name says, your videos are always entertaining. Thanks for the content. Appreciate that. And he also says your wallpapers are dope. Yeah, anybody that wants my wallpapers, people ask about wallpapers all the time. Let me go back to homepage of my GitLab. One of the repos is wallpapers. And that's a collection of like over 300 wallpapers that I have locally on my system. I've renamed them. I've just numbered them just to have them in an order. But any wallpaper you ever see me use, any wallpaper you've ever seen me have on my desktop on camera is in that repo. All right. Yeah, Debian will ship Wayland in 2135. I don't know. Debian doesn't move quite that fast. Let's see. Which PyCom fork are you using, DT? Not any PyCom forks anymore. I'm just using standard PyCom. The PyCom forks, I've used several of them, to get some of the fancy blurring and effects and things like that, animations. They're all buggy, right? They all have issues. I just use PyCom. I don't really need anything fancy anyway. And I don't want to trade stability for fancy effects, right? That's not a good trade-off. Yeah, the last commit on PyCom Jonaberg was March 19th, 2022. Yeah, so that was, 10 months ago. But I'm not sure, if it's something that needs to be like constantly worked on. I don't know how feature complete something like PyCom is. Zero Linux, it says, just ended his podcast with using ChatGPT. Very cool. All right, let's see if I can knock some of these out. So, now I've already responded to that, didn't I? I think it's the same. Is it the same guy? It's Packer Sync. Let's see. Popcorn Kernel. Let's see who started this. Popcorn Kernel. So it's two different people had an issue. I'll leave that for now. Let me refresh the page. Yeah. Dim-like navigation. Now I've already responded to this. And I've closed it. Okay. Go back to the open issues. I was looking at the closed issues. Okay, that's why it was still there. Question about the org fonts section. So this, of course, will be the Doom Emacs config. So if I open Doom Emacs, got a question about org mode fonts. So let me open an org document, maybe my config.org file, right? Which is essentially a literate config, using org mode, which is kind of like a markdown kind of syntax, fancy. You get variable font sizes and bullet points. I can add tables and checklists and radio buttons and source code blocks, and I can have the source code blocks all output to different files. And org mode is just absolutely fantastic. It's the killer feature why everyone should use Emacs. But he has a problem using my fonts as far as the font settings, org level 1. So let's search for org level 1, my config. So there, okay, there's the org font section. It would be defining that function there, this block. Okay. I don't know. This is another situation where obviously my config works. I use it every day. Not only do I use it every day on my computer, many of you guys use it as well. Anytime you install DTOS, you install my Doom Emacs config. Not exactly like the one on my dotfiles, but it's pretty close. I strip out a few things that don't need to be there for the general public, because in my personal config, you know, I've got some personal settings like, you know, my name and my email and things like that, where you would obviously want to add your own values for some of that. But it's 99% the same config. He gets an error message about the invalid face org level 1. But he really doesn't, there's not enough information here. So a lot of times when you post something like this, you do want to post the error message, because the error message sometimes can give you exactly what the problem is. But in this case, it doesn't. It just says there's a problem with that setting in his config, but it doesn't really tell me what the problem is, because I can't see the setting that he has for that value in his config. So I'm going to say, hard to diagnose the problem without seeing your config. Please post your config for a better response. And I'll comment, I'll leave that open. And if he doesn't respond in the next couple of days, I'll probably just close the issue by now, because he posted this 3 months ago. Surely by now, he solved his own problem, I would hope. The NeoVim config, I've already responded to another one very similar. I'm not sure why they were having problems, but it could have been a problem that they were having 4 months ago. But it's obviously, you know, probably taken care of itself by now through updates or whatever. The Alacrity config. Okay, Alacrity returns error creating GL context. Initialize fill, GL context creation fill. So GL. It's a graphics problem, of course. Alacrity is a GPU accelerated terminal config file, or terminal emulator. So, as such, have you tried restarting your computer whenever your video driver updates? Alacrity will not work until you reboot. At least that's the case on my NVIDIA machine. Well, my home computer has an NVIDIA card. This is an AMD computer. I've never noticed it on this machine. It may have happened on this machine with the AMD drivers updating, but I know my machine at home has this issue where sometimes you'll get the latest NVIDIA driver. Then you go to hit the key binding to open Alacrity. It doesn't work. You maybe run it from a command prompt like dmenu, Alacrity, and it doesn't work. Maybe you have another terminal emulator installed like ST or Xterm or something, so you open Xterm and type Alacrity, and you'll actually get an error message, the GL context creation or whatever message. But oddly enough, just a simple reboot and it works again. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to get through all the issues on my GitLab, because we're still just on one of the 24 repos I have on my GitLab, right? The dot files. Yeah. So this is another reason. Yeah, never, if you're posting a support kind of question and you want an immediate response, don't post it on my GitLab. Don't post any support question that's not directly related to my configs either. I understand why the guy asked about my Alacrity config, because he was using my Alacrity config. He didn't know, but my config is not the problem, right? In that case. hopefully he probably asked the question, in 4 months or whatever since he posted. He probably already figured it out on his own through a reboot. Hopefully he asked the question somewhere else and got the correct response. Got a super chat here from Raphael. Thanks, DT. I'm learning Arch because of you. Appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat, and I hope you enjoy Arch Linux. Pretty sure you will. Just Linux in general, they're all essentially the same at the end of the day. Very, very, very minor differences between the various GNU / Linux distributions. Parker says, hey DT, I watched your video about phones in schools, and a lot of schools now require you to bring a phone to school for stuff like announcements and safety during evacuation or fire drill. Well, they can require you, but unless they're buying you a phone, they can't. Yeah, needing a reboot after a kernel update is a bit annoying. Yeah, some distributions don't require that. I know Ubuntu is able to do that, just in place when you update the kernel, it just can switch to the next kernel without you having to reboot. I forget, they have a name for it. I think it's Canonical Live Patch or Ubuntu Live Patch or something like that. But most distributions, you have to reboot to load the new kernel. Honestly, though, it's probably good just to reboot your machine every now and then anyway. I often take updates on my Arco machine here. I get 200 updates, 400 updates, whatever. I've got a lot of stuff installed. I don't even look to see what updated. I typically, as soon as I update, because I'm only going to update once a week, maybe even go 2 weeks without updating. It's time to reboot the computer at that point, just to make sure everything's working correctly. You don't want to go forever without rebooting your computer. Like if you go 3 months without rebooting your computer, and you've probably taken some updates in the meantime, you just never rebooted, but then after 3 months you decide to finally reboot your computer and something's broken, right? You get a black screen or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't reboot. Well, what was the problem? Well, good luck finding out the problem, because you've had so many updates over that course of 3 months. You have no idea what package possibly could have caused an issue because you just now rebooted your machine. I often say this too, keep up with the updates. Don't go too, especially on rolling release distributions, because you don't want to take an update of 400 packages, 600, 1,000 packages, and then reboot the computer and then find out something's broken. Well, what's broken? Well, I don't know. There were 1,000 packages that it could be, because that's how many just updated. Using MX Linux as a result of one of your videos. Thank you. And that was Dr. Socrates. Very cool. Yeah, MX Linux is great. It's not one I personally use, but I do install it a lot on like friends' machines, family member machines, especially if it's older equipment, because MX is XFCE, and the XFCE that they do is pretty nice and Debian stable, so rock solid stable distribution. I think I had my mom run MX Linux for a while on her laptop. This was a couple of years ago. No complaints. I installed it and never heard back. Right? So if something was wrong, trust me, she would have let me know. So she was fine with it. Let's see. Opinions on NixOS as a daily OS. I haven't used NixOS as a daily driver. I've got NixOS on some test equipment. I've got NixOS on a computer actually right here behind me. There's a desk behind me. And I have a desktop that was gifted to me a few months back. I've got NixOS on it just to play with. I've got NixOS on one of my laptops as well. I've got Geeks, which is similar to NixOS, GNU Geeks, on one of my laptops as well. But I haven't used them on my main production machine, mainly because I'm so invested in the Arch ecosystem, maintaining my own Arch packages, Arch repository of software. Like if I wanted to switch my main production machine to something that wasn't Arch-based, I would either have to stop working on things like DTOS and things like that, Or I would actually have to go and do the work all over again, rebuilding the packages for a new Linux operating system, repackaging them in a different format, for Nix, for example, making sure they're in the Nix repos instead of the Arch repos. And or then people will complain, well, I wanted all of your stuff for Arch and now you're over on Nix building all this stuff. Well, am I going to maintain all of my stuff on Arch and all of my stuff on Nix? I don't have that time. I can't do that. I like making videos, and if I had to do all of that, I would never make another video. I wouldn't have time. So, again, I'm not a developer. One of the things is a lot of people, the people that put out video content creation about things like Linux or scripting or programming, they typically not doing that stuff as a full-time job. Some of them are. But you can tell the ones that are and the ones that aren't. The ones that are typically aren't putting out that much content. They're not on a very regular basis, right? Because you can't, this is a full-time job. I can't have this full-time job and then also be a full-time developer. That doesn't work, right? Plus, I would hate that. I don't like building packages and maintaining packages. I really don't like programming. I don't want to be a software developer. It's never been something I've wanted to do in life. Even though I've played with this stuff for decades, it's good to play with, every now and then. I wouldn't want to do it all the time, right? I do it on occasion for fun. It wouldn't be fun if I had to do it all the time. I do respect those of you that do work as professional software developers and programmers. Let's see, just came here, and that's system coding. Well, welcome to the stream. Washed my hair, says, hey. I like the name. Yeah, you know what? If you've got the right kind of haircut, you don't have to worry about washing your hair. At least not with shampoo, right? You can throw some soap, but and you don't have to worry about conditioner. You save so much on those kinds of products. You never have to buy them again. Now, what don't you like about it? Just out of curiosity, I'm assuming is what he means. Well, it depends on which particular thing. I mentioned several things I don't like, but just a minute ago I was talking about I don't particularly like software development and programming. It's just not something I enjoy doing. It's very tedious work. And it depends on what kind of... I like doing simple scripting, something very direct, anything that has a very simple user interface. I like command line stuff. Like that. That makes sense. To me, it's not about ease of use. It's just how my brain works. I understand I enter something at the command line and the command line spits something back out at me. I like that kind of workflow. So, scripting with something like Bash, for example, I find that appealing. Building like graphical applications, GUI applications, like your standard GTK apps and Qt apps, things like that. I would hate that because trying to decide on a UI and where different buttons go and drop down menus and, how everything is laid out as far as a proper user experience, how they should interact with this particular app. It's so much work goes on. It's 10 times the work, maybe 100 times the work creating an app like that, because you have to figure out what their user experience should be. Where a command line app, I don't even have to worry about it. It's pretty obvious what the command line user experience is going to be. They're going to enter a command and they're going to get a response. So I guess it depends on what kind of software you're developing. But again, a lot of it I just find overly tedious. It's just a whole lot of work. In many cases, I find the really complicated applications are less powerful. Some of the simpler ones. Some of my favorite applications on Linux, some of the really amazing pieces of software on Linux are these command line tools that in many cases people take for granted. One of my favorite tools on Linux is a command line tool called pandoc. Most of you have probably heard of pandoc. If you haven't, pandoc is a command line application. It's written in Haskell. It's probably the most popular Haskell program. Works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's a command line application. You give it some parameters, and basically you enter a command and it converts whatever document in whatever format it's currently in into another document format. For example, I can convert, an org document into Markdown, or vice versa, or an org document into HTML, or a docx. I don't know. It's proprietary format, but I'm assuming I could do, some of the Microsoft Word formats into maybe one of the open document formats, such as, ODT or whatever formats LibreOffice uses. Pandoc is absolutely amazing in what it can do. And it's just a simple little command line program, right? Not a lot of lines of code. If you knew Haskell, you could go read the source code, right? One of those things that sometimes these really powerful programs, amazingly powerful programs, aren't complicated at all. In some cases, people make things more complicated than what they really should be. Yeah, docx is open now. Yeah, somebody mentioned that to me the other day too, because I had mentioned something about the docx format. It's interesting that it's open. I'm not sure why anyone. I mean, I guess if you were invested in that format already, but these days, I mean, why wouldn't you just use one of the originally open formats? I would assume that it probably would have to do something with maybe if you were invested heavily into Microsoft Office, for example, right? But I don't know. Yeah, some stuff is better on terminal, some stuff is better on GUI. Well, I mean, some things have to be a graphical application. Like if you're working with graphics, you have to be working in a graphical application, right? It doesn't make sense to do the stuff at the command line to draw an image or edit a video or things like that that actually require you to actually view something as an image, right? But most everything outside of that is usually easier at the command line. Getting back to my GitLabs, we have been going for about 40 minutes here. Let's see if I can answer anything quickly. Hey DT, have you moved mu4e from your dot files? So mu4e is the Emacs email client. And I used to have it as part of my doom config.org. I removed it because I don't actually use mu4e. I had it in my config as an example for people that did want to use it. Excuse me. The reason I removed it from my config too is like I'm not going to add. I've got a lot of personal email addresses and things like that that I don't want to share with people. I don't want people emailing me. I mean, I've got a public email kind of that people, if you want, Derek@distrotube.com. Yeah, you email me, you might get a response. You probably won't though. I don't. I go days at a time without reading my email. But so I don't have it in my config, but I do know where it's at because I've answered this question before. People want it. The great thing about GitLab, GitHub, these Git repositories, Git can maintain a history, right? Every change I've made, you can go back and look at things, files that I edited in the past, files I deleted. So this link I just posted to him, I deleted this file. Actually, I deleted this entire directory because I no longer use .doom.d, which is in your home directory. I actually put my Doom configs now in .config/doom. So that's why you can't find this, because really the entire directory no longer exists. But let me see where the mu4e, here it is. So there's the MU4E section there that he's asking about. And I actually went and found this in the history. I posted that to my GitLab, I think in December of 2020. I made a video about MU4E in December of 2020. So I went back in my GitLab history to that time period, and I found, that commit there around the same time period that involved my Doom config. So I could give him a copy of my config from 2 years ago. That's neat, right? And many people don't know you can go back and view history on GitLab or GitHub or whatever you happen to be using. Like if I go to my dotfiles, I pick anything, like my bash RC. And you go back and you watch one of my videos, and maybe I have something in my bash config, my bash RC, right? That's no longer there. You saw it in one of my videos. You're like, DT, you had this block of code in your bash config. It's not there anymore. Oh, you still have that code? Well, look, if you know when I posted the video, you can go to history. You click on the file, open the bash RC, click on history. Here are all the past commits I've made with my bash RC. Let's go back in time, right? Here's October 2020, right? Here, just click on it. Of course, you'll get the diffs, right? But if you want to view the entire file, view file, you can copy my bash RC as it existed in October of 2020. Oh, and you can do that with any file on GitLab. Because that's a common question. People want older versions of my configs, especially because I'm on a rolling release distro, and some of you guys are on stable distros like Debian or Ubuntu LTS. Hey, your Xmonad config no longer works for me because my distro is still on a previous version of Xmonad, which is incompatible with your new config. Can I have your old config? Well, go to my dotfiles, go find my Xmonad config, go back in the history, right? That's how you do that. Go back to some of the chat here. See, it's open, but surprisingly not comfortable. And that's the docx format. I don't use it. I've never used it. So I've never owned Microsoft Office. As crazy as that is, I've had to use it on occasion in certain work environments. I really won't even say I've had to use it. I've had machines that had Microsoft Office on it. I've never had to be an Office user. Let's see. Yeah. Reshi says, university student here, and we're required to submit assignments in docx. Yeah, you really should let your professor know that ODT, is that the correct file format, ODT? Whatever the open document word processing format is. Not to mention, you should let them know LibreOffice is free, right? So they stop requiring students to actually have to pay for something like Microsoft Office or Office 365 or whatever it happens to be. Hopefully you get a discount on some of that being a student, but still you shouldn't have to pay for Microsoft Office when there is a free and open source alternative that is just as good, if not better, especially considering the freedom aspect of it. But depending on how knowledgeable your professor is regarding free and open source software, I mean, that could be a lost cause, because if they know nothing about free and open source software, trying to explain it to them, probably not going to get you anywhere. ADT, you've been an inspiration to switch from Vim to Emacs, and it has been quite interesting so far. Ah, yeah. Well, I'm glad you found it interesting. It's one of those things most people are going to find quite difficult. Especially, one of the reasons I made so many videos about Doom Emacs, and especially how to approach Doom Emacs, because I've made videos like switching to Doom Emacs for noobs, and I think I did Doom Emacs on day one. You know, what you need to know on the first day. If you don't know this stuff on day one, you're really going to hate Doom Emacs at first. And also the fact that so many people still don't understand Doom Emacs is a GUI program. Yeah, don't run it from the terminal. Stop opening terminals once you switch to Emacs. So essentially, now I still open terminals and stuff. You know, I do stuff in terminals. Sometimes I even do stuff in Vim on my videos, mainly just to, you know, do different things. But that's not the way you use Emacs, right? I think I still got Doom Emacs open on my screen here. Yep. All right. Here, let's switch to a different workspace here. So the way you use Emacs, I mentioned this, I think, on the last live stream too, but you know, you open Emacs, you know, just, you know, if you need a terminal, I mean, there's so many terminals I could open, but let's open the E shell, right? There's my terminal. Once I'm done, I hit escape to get back into normal mode because I'm using evil mode, right? The Vim bindings, right? So escape to get into normal mode. Now I can give it a proper key binding, such as space B, K to kill a buffer, right? So all the buffer commands in Doom Emacs begin with space B and then another key. So, you know, I just went back to my previous buffer that I was on, right? Kind of cool. Kind of cool stuff here. So, you know, you need a file manager, space period, right? If I need a proper terminal emulator that's not the E shell, because the E shell is not a terminal emulator. It's an entire shell. It's an alternative shell. It's not bash. It's not fish, right? It's its own shell written in Emacs Lisp. It mimics a lot of what you can do in bash, but like the ls functions and, you know, all the commands cd and all those standard shell commands have been rewritten essentially in Emacs Lisp. You can type Emacs Lisp code inside the E shell and it'll, you know, it'll actually evaluate it for you, which is kind of cool. But I do have vterm installed on my config. So if I do space vt, there's the vterm, which is a proper terminal emulator. It opens here in a horizontal split, and it opens whatever shell I have in my config as the default shell for vterm. I have it set to use the fish shell. You can set it to use bash or zsh or whatever. I don't know. The PowerShell. I don't know anything about the PowerShell, but you could probably, you know, run any shell you want. KSH, you know, if you were real crazy, you know, some of those BSD shells, that, you know, TCSH or whatever, some of the BSD operating systems use. But I run fish because, you know, I like good programs, and the fish shell as an interactive shell is really nice. Obviously, if you're big time into bash scripting, you may want the bash shell as your default shell, just because you're going to be entering bash code, I guess, to evaluate. But typically, that's not a problem anyway. You can still use fish as your default shell, and if you actually want to evaluate, you know, some bash code, just quickly type bash and switch over to bash to do your scripting, and then exit out of bash to get back into fish to, you know, do all your interactive stuff. That's typically how I do things. There's a lot of people, hey, why would you use fish? It's not POSIX compliant. Well, you're not using it to be POSIX compliant, right? You're using it as your shell, right? As the user interface of your terminal, essentially. And fish is better than all the other shells at being that user interface inside your terminal. Now, when you actually need to do some proper scripting, yeah, regardless of whatever shell you might be running, you probably want to use bash for your scripting on Linux. Like, that's just kind of the standard. I think did I close out my GitLab repos? I wonder if we should take a look at some of the other repositories here. Yeah, I've been loving the Church of Emacs series. Yeah, that's my, I've got a playlist on my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of playlists. I've tried to organize some of my stuff in playlists. Go back to the browser here. Go to my YouTube page. You go to playlist, you'll find all of my playlists. And one of them will be the Church of Emacs, which is all the videos I've made that involved Emacs in some way. 38. Right? So when I say I've put a lot of content out there regarding Emacs, especially Doom Emacs and how you guys can switch from Vim to Doom Emacs, yeah, check out those 38 videos. Right? I've got an Xmonad playlist of 20 videos. Well, somewhere in here I've got a Vim playlist. Yeah. The Vim lifestyle, right? 14 videos. I've got a very large command line playlist, 72 videos. And those are videos specifically about various command line tools. Like I've done videos about awk, and I've done videos about sed. I've done videos about grep and cut, and all your standard GNU core util commands, the find command, SSH, and things like that. I've got videos about most of the really standard shell commands that people use on Linux. You'll find that in that playlist. Yeah, so go check the playlists. Let's see, what about Starship? I'm not sure who he was asking. The Starship prompt I'm still using as far as my Alacrity config is using the Starship prompt. I've configured it a little bit differently recently because I think I did a video about Starship just a couple weeks ago. I've done some prior videos, but I made a video about theming and configuring Starship. So I changed my earlier prompt to something slightly different, just to do so on video, right? But that's the Starship prompt. And it's Starship in fish. It's also the same Starship prompt if I switch over to bash. See, the same prompt. It's also the Starship prompt if I switch over to ZSH. See, same prompt. So I have a Starship as part of my bash config, my ZSH config, and my fish config. The eShell does not use the Starship prompt because I don't think the Starship guys have made Starship to be able to work with eShell. At least it wasn't the last time I checked. It works with pretty much any shell, including things like PowerShell. But unfortunately, I don't know if any of the Starship guys are Emacs users. If they are, they really need to make sure Starship eventually works with the eShell. I think that would be kind of neat. All right. Got a super chat here from North Star. YouTube is pushing a video of mine, and I'm worried it is a psyop. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. I am a nobody, non-tent person. I'm assuming that's a typo. I don't know. And my video got 2.7K views in 24 hours. Should I delete it? I'd say just go with it, buddy. I'm not sure what you were implying there. I think there were some typos somewhere in there that made that a little confusing, though. But if YouTube is pushing a video of yours, that's good. If it's getting more views than usual, which I'm assuming is what you're saying, that does happen. And I don't know why it happens, because I'll check my analytics every now and then. I'm not one of those people. I don't check my YouTube analytics much anymore. Because, checking that stuff can really affect you mentally. It can cause you to burn out. Because when you start checking your analytics, oh, how many views did I get today? How many subscribers I get today? What's my watch time? Yada, yada, yada. And it could force you, or it could push you to have to work harder, right? That's why they show all that analytical stuff, and they want you to constantly be checking. YouTube's always telling you, hey, you need to make sure that this percentage of people are watching this far into the video, and yada. Don't worry about all that stuff. Don't look at any of that stuff. You'll know if the videos you're making are good. You'll know because they'll resonate with your viewers, right? And the viewers will tell you, hey, great video. Video helped me. This video helped me in this area of life, whatever it happens. You'll know if you're making a difference. You'll probably also know if you're making complete garbage, because they'll let you know about that too. I mean by non-tent as it's not content. Okay. It's an interesting word. So you made a video that's not content. But that's YouTube. There's a lot of not content on YouTube. That's usually the most popular content on YouTube, which might be why you're getting pushed. If you make videos that have absolutely no useful information in them whatsoever, man, YouTube loves that. uh, I mean, I've got some videos that get unusually high amounts of views that YouTube pushes. And some of them, I don't understand why YouTube pushes them. Go back to my page here, videos. Like popular videos. I made this video 9 months ago. It's like 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. How to be a Linux user. And it's like a joke video, right? It's kind of my typical meme kind of video. 1.8 million views. I don't, and it gets thousands of new views every day. Even 9 months. Sometimes I've had days where I'll check my analytics, and this video will get 50,000 views in a day. Still, 9 months later, like it's this video is gonna cross 2 million views probably within a couple weeks. The kind of views that, for whatever reason, YouTube is recommending it to people. And there's nothing educational about this video. There's nothing useful about this video. It wasn't a video I spent very much time making, if I'm being honest. Like, it was kind of a very simple video. Actually, these kinds of videos where I take various slideshow kinds of, different pictures, and then I have to narrate over it, and I added some music. They're not terribly simple videos to make. But I didn't spend a lot of time on that thing, and YouTube is pushing it. Another one YouTube is pushing right now. This haiku video has 115K views. I made this video about a month ago. That is a lot of views in 1 month for a video. Now, depending on the topic, I wouldn't think anything of it, right? But this is about haiku, right? Haiku is not a sexy topic, right? How many people in the world do you think actually have ever used the haiku operating system? I seriously doubt 115,000 people in the entire world have ever even used haiku. Why is this such a popular video? That just blows my mind. Like, when I made the video, like, nobody's really interested in haiku. I make the videos on topics I'm interested in, though. I was interested in the new haiku release, which is why I make the video. And, people watch it. As one of those things, make the videos you want to make. Ultimately, that's all you can control is your happiness. If you're happy doing the video, make it. Other people watch it, great. If they don't, that's great too, because hopefully you enjoyed learning something, making the video about that particular topic. Usually I treat these things as educational experiences for myself, right? I'm like, when I'm making a video about whatever topic it happens to be, it's because I want to learn more about a specific thing. And the easiest way for me to learn that is to try to teach others. When you want to learn something, the best way to actually teach yourself is to try to teach somebody else. That's for anything in life. And just quickly, let's check out shell color scripts. So the shell color scripts program I have. There are some merge requests. I'm not going to go through any more issues. It just takes too long. And I know it makes kind of a boring live stream, especially some of the really weird issues. Add Fedora installation instructions. Okay, well, this is what I was talking about. People are packaging some of my stuff for non-Arch-based distributions, which is great because I wasn't going to do it, right? So here's his commits. Let's just take a look at the changes. He is changing the README. That is all he's doing. So he's just letting people know where it is in the copper repository for Fedora. So there's really no reason why I couldn't just accept this. Yeah, that's that. Where's the updated Fedora installation instructions? Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do, we're just going to merge this. merge unverified changes. It says the latest pipeline for the merge request did not succeed. Well, the pipeline is running some kind of check and it failed on something, which has nothing to do with the changes he made and the README. That's going to be, it was probably failing before that. Let's go back to the merge requests. So I accepted his, and what I should do, because I have these locally on my system, cd into GitLab, my GitLab repos, shell color scripts. Okay, fish shell. Thank you for the autocomplete. And let's do git pull. All right. So I got the new README on my local system. Now modified the makefile. Modified the makefile. So was there an error or something? I mean, the makefile works because people install my shell color scripts every day. I don't know. Probably thousands of people have installed this thing on Linux. Let's see what changes he made. He is removing these lines where it's making a directory and /opt for shell color scripts. Okay, well, where do you want to place it? He wants to place it in this directory called /data/data/com.termux. So termux is a terminal emulator on Android, right? But this is not, like, that's cool that you're installing it on Android, but why are you changing? Like, this is something you should do on your own. Why are you changing the makefile for everybody? Everybody that installs shell color scripts is doing this on Linux. They're not doing this on Android. I can't accept this, right? This is the kinds of things that are frustrating. So absolute paths are now with respect to termux. Cannot accept this merge. It breaks the package for Linux users. Not sure if this was an accidental merge. So, and by accidental merge, I mean sometimes people will clone a repository of mine and they think they're pushing it to their fork of my repository because they'll fork it on their GitLab. But for whatever reason, sometimes they merge it back into my branch. And after they've made these weird changes that, I mean, I can't accept that, right? It completely breaks the script, the package. It won't build correctly on Linux. Well, I mean, I guess it would make that directory on Linux, but that's not a directory that, when you're creating new directories inside the root file system, you know, where /opt is already there on Linux systems. So I got the 2 merge requests for shell color scripts done. Let's see. Go back in the browser history. dmscripts, which is another package of mine. My dmenu scripts. I'm sure you guys know all of my dmenu scripts. There's about 26, 30 dmenu scripts that are part of the dmscripts meta package. Again, it's packaged for Arch Linux. It's also packaged for DTOS, and other people have packaged it on other distributions. I want to say that it's available through Packstall, I think, on Ubuntu and Debian. I don't know. A lot of people have taken some of my stuff and packaged it in a variety of formats, which is very cool. No merge requests. Okay. Let's see. Issues. DM document does not open PDFs if the file name has a new line as part of the file name. Actually, I don't think DM document. I didn't write that particular script. That was a commit by someone else. And I'm not sure if that particular script works at all. I need to investigate that. I'll do that off camera. DM dictionary, not working. Okay. And I think I have an idea why DM dictionary is not working, because it gives the error. DYM, command not found. The script depends on this particular command, DYM. If I go into dmscripts and I go into the script directory and I go into dm-dictionary. One of the things I require, anybody that's working on these kinds of things, is to actually put the dependencies as part of the header, right? I do that in all of my DM scripts, and this guy followed that same format, dependencies, translate -shell, and did you mean DYM, right? So dm-dictionary has the following dependencies. Let's see. Translate -shell. And translate -shell. That's in the standard Arch repos. And did you mean is in the AUR. I'm going to comment and close. If he installs those two packages, the script will then work. Now, why don't I just install those packages? You know, because I have, of course, the Arch Linux package builds for DM scripts. I could, when you install DM scripts on Arch Linux, make it install translate -shell and did you mean, since they're dependencies. The reason I don't do that is because I've got like 30 something scripts or whatever it happens to be as part of DM scripts. Not everybody is going to want to use all of the individual scripts, even though they're all part of a meta package. So I leave a lot of the dependencies as optional. Like if you want to use that particular script. Yeah. I know it's kind of lame, but it's also kind of lame if I install, you know, like 50 extra dependencies for you. If you install DM scripts and you're not going to use, but I don't know, 5 of the scripts on a regular basis, right? So, and there's no good way, unfortunately, to handle that dependency situation. Either I just list every dependency for every script and just install a ton of stuff when you install DM scripts, or I just let you go and read the individual script that you want to use. And you just look at the source code. You can see in the source code exactly what programs are required for that particular script. Also, when you go and read the source code, I mean, if you wanted to, like, you know, you can see what it requires, but there's no reason in reading the source code why you couldn't substitute. Maybe there's another dictionary kind of lookup command other than the did you mean command, the DYM command, but maybe you want to sub it out. That's another thing, you know, by going and looking at the source code, you can, you know, maybe you've got other tools you're familiar with that do, you know, that similar kind of work. Gives you some flexibility there. But DM scripts, I need to spend more time on it. It's one of those projects that's just become kind of big, right? It's a lot to it. And it's a project I know that's important. I use my DM scripts every day, right? You guys see me use dmenu all the time. Every time I take a screenshot on my computer, I use DM scripts for it. I have it debinded in my xmonad config. If you're using DTOS, for example, you could do super P I for image, and it's going to ask you about screenshots. You want to do it full screen, active window, selected region, what monitor you want to screenshot. I've got 3 to choose from, right? And if I want to take a screenshot of this middle monitor here, I can do it. I want to delay the screenshot in case I need a few seconds to get something in place? I can delay it by up to 5 seconds, or I can just take it now. All right, when I take the screenshot right now, do I want it saved as a file or to the clipboard or to both? Save it to the clipboard. Now it's there. I could open up GIMP and I can paste that screenshot that's sitting in my clipboard into GIMP, maybe to create a thumbnail. You know, so that's what I use that particular DM script practically every day. You know, I'm always taking screenshots of stuff, mainly for making thumbnails and or artwork for the channel and stuff like that. Sometimes community posts, things like that. I'll take a screenshot of something. So that's one of the DM scripts I use all the time. If I do super PH for the DM hub, which is a script that lists all 29 DM scripts. So it's 29 of them. Some of the other ones I use often. DM set background. So in DTOS, this is hotkey to super P followed by B for background. So set background. If I hit set, it lists all the wallpapers that are available in DTOS. And I can navigate around in SXIV and I can pick a wallpaper, such as this one here. And if I hit M for mark the wallpaper. You can see the little box. It's kind of hard to see, but it's been marked. If I close the window now, the wallpaper changes, right? I use those all the time. Super PH for DM hub. See anything else I use all the time? I don't use most of these that often. The web search one is kind of cool. I have that super PS, by the way, for the web search. If you want to, usually I don't use that often because I'm in a browser already. I just navigate the site, but sometimes it's nice. If you're not already in a browser, you're not on one of these particular search indices, just to be able to search something really quickly. All right. We've been streaming for about an hour and 16 minutes. Probably going to stream another 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. And then, again, I've got to get out of here. For those of you just joining the stream, I'm going to have a Mardi Gras parade. I'm not having one personally. My city is having a Mardi Gras parade today. It's a big deal. Be, I don't know, tens of thousands, maybe over 100,000 people at the parade, right? In this parade route that's, over, I don't know, a couple miles of roadway. It's actually part of the path of the parade. It's just about 50 yards from my building here, my office building. And if I don't want to get trapped here for a lengthy amount of time today, probably need to get out of here before all the roads start getting cordoned off and, already people will be lining the streets. People will be, they've already lit their grills. Everybody's cooking. Everybody's drinking. Even several hours now before the parade actually starts. And I'm not interested in taking part of any of that today. Those were fun in my younger days, But now, just getting drunk and acting wild with a whole bunch of other random people. It's not as appealing as it once was, right? Maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy, though. Let's get back to the chat. Let's catch up on some of the YouTube chat here. Let's see. Yeah, maybe YouTube is pushing haiku because people search for the Japanese concept. Could be. Could be. Yeah, I can't figure that one out. Because literally, haiku, you would think is such a niche kind of topic. I think Linux is a really niche topic. I'm actually surprised I get as many views on my channel just because I mainly focus on Linux, right? Linux is 1,000 times more popular than something like haiku, though. Who in the hell is watching that, right? Yeah, I've been running DTOS for a few months now, and I've been loving every minute of it. I don't think I've had a single issue at all messing with the grid select tool. Found Arch tweak tool. Broke me. Messing with the grid select tool, I found Arch tweak tool. Broke me. I'm not sure what you mean by there, but I'm glad you're loving DTOS. As far as having any issues, you shouldn't. Because I don't update DTOS that all as far as my configs. I shouldn't be pushing any packages out to you that should break anything. If I do, I'm going to know about it because it's going to break my computer. So I'll know because I'm running essentially DTOS right on my computer. Well, I'll know of any issues and I'll correct them and quickly push them out to the DTOS repos when they arise. But really, I mean, the DTOS repository I maintain, I don't know, 30 or 40 packages. And about 20 or 25 of them are like custom packages that are really kind of my own configs, you know, my .files, you know, my builds of certain things like dmenu and things like that. And I don't change those things often enough that you should have to worry about, you know, waking up one day, taking an update and everything be broken. You know, that's, I'm too lazy to break your system, right? If I was much more active in maintaining DTOS, you should probably worry. So in this case, me being lazy is probably a benefit to you. Let's see. Well, for some reason, the logout script don't show me a menu. It just logs me out. Could be, you know what? I've got an idea about that. So the logout menu, which is dm logout. I do the dm hub, dm logout, right? This is dm logout. But do I have the conky up? I was just making sure I didn't have like a wrong key binding in the conky. I moved my head. Because it's possible I could have given you guys a key binding that's not the correct key binding. All right, let's close out GitLab. We're done with that. Let's go to the xmonad config. I'm assuming that you're using this on DTOS with xmonad, or maybe you're just using my xmonad config and you're not using DTOS. Let's see what the command to quit out. I know what the command is, but let's check what it actually does. Mod shift Q quits xmonad, and it runs the sequence command. Sequence is a Haskell command, and what it does is it runs multiple commands in sequence, meaning typically when you run a command, one command runs, and the next command will run after the first command finishes, right? But sequence runs them both at the same time, and I'm running my sound player plus the shutdown sound. So that's I have a shutdown sound, you know, kind of like when you shut down Windows, you get a shutdown sound. I have one as part of my xmonad config. And then it also runs IO as exit success, which is an xmonad command to quit out of the window manager. What I could do, if you didn't want that, I could just put in an example here. I'll comment it out because you can't have both key bindings as the same thing. Let's see. Let's just get rid of all this. And yeah, spawn dm logout. It's really all that needs to be. Make sure get the ending parentheses. Do an org tangle to write that to my xmonad.hs. Let me restart xmonad just to make sure I didn't booger anything up, which it's a commented line. It shouldn't break anything. But if you wanted to, I'll push this to my .files. You get rid of, comment that line out and uncomment this new line for dm logout, and that should work. The reason it's not working now is because it's not even using dm logout, right? My quit command actually running the sequence command. It's running the shutdown sound and running the exit success command. It's hard to say. Let's go ahead and push that to my .files. So sure, yeah. So just add a commit message, adding optional xmonad quit command as dm logout. Let's push that. All right, that'll be over on my GitLab now. My new xmonad config with that commented line. I hope that was the problem. Even if it wasn't the problem, it's good to have that line there for documentation purposes for people that want to check it out. Yeah, the Reddit script doesn't work also without radio installed. Yep. And I actually haven't played with that one in a long time. Oh, I've got That's the radio script, not the radio. So, what is it? dm-reddit is what it's called now. Yeah. So if I wanted to read r/archlinux, you know, this is, I guess, the latest post on that subreddit. Spotify is back on the AUR. And is that all? Yeah, I haven't actually played with that script, and I know I was the original author of the script as far as I'm the one that started work on the script, and then others started playing with it. But I don't know if that radio command, which is command line script, command line tool to read Reddit, you know, in a terminal. I don't know if that's still under active development or not. Again, it's one of those things. Some of these scripts, I probably either need to go through and make sure they work correctly. Most of them do, but there's 3 or 4 of those DM scripts I know have some issues, including the Reddit one. And what I need to do is I either need to correct those issues myself. If I'm not the original author of that particular script, somebody else was working on it, ask them to fix any issues, or at least help me fix the issues. Or we just need to delete those particular scripts from the DM scripts package. Because we don't want to have, you know, broken things as part of the script. All right, so that was it for me taking a look at my GitLab stuff. I didn't get through very many of those issues at all. I may not get back to some of those issues, but it is what it is on that. Hopefully you guys found some of that stuff interesting, as well as our chat here today. We've got another 3 or 4 minutes, so any of you guys got any questions or comments you want to get in before the stream ends here in about 4 minutes, get them in now. That way they are forever recorded on YouTube. For historical purposes, right? Ask away. First time in your live, happy. Love from India. Appreciate that. That's from Digi Nomad. Rick Thomas says, sounds like horrible traffic. Well, there will be no traffic on the main streets because it would be, you know, blocked off for the parade route for all the floats. So that's part of the problem, is the route that I usually take from my office to get back home is along the parade route. I'm actually going to have to take a different way home too when I leave. Yeah, keep the stream up and shoot the camera at the parade. Yeah, that would be cool if I'm not in a position to do that. Like, the parade route is kind of close, but it's not close enough to where I could just like open a window and maybe, you know, shoot out a window and you know, it's a little too far, unfortunately. I was directly on the parade route. Yeah, that actually could be cool. It could also be dangerous. Because I could possibly film something that wouldn't be appropriate for YouTube. It is a Mardi Gras parade, after all, right? Yeah, when does Lent start? I want to participate and do hardcore Lent and fast and stuff. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the calendar. As far as, yeah, fasting is good. In general, and this shouldn't be something that you just necessarily do once a year or whatever. Just in life in general, sometimes it's good just to pick something anytime and just say, you know what, I'm going to give something up for a while. Something I really love. Doesn't matter what it is. Whether it be certain foods, whether it be caffeine, for example. That would be a tough one for me, right? And I've done that before. You know, go see if I can go a month or 6 weeks or whatever without coffee and tea and, you know, all of my favorite beverages, or go a month without alcohol, or go a month without sex, or go a month without whatever. Pick something you know you would miss, and then just give it up for a while. Now, why do that? Well, it builds character. And also, it's one of those things, once you have trained yourself and you've done it enough times where Mentally, I can overcome anything. I can give anything. I can make any change I want to make in my life. And this is the problem with many people that can't do that. It's just they never try. It's a habit you have to learn. The people that mentally, they swear to you they can't give up smoking or give up whatever their particular bent is, drugs or gambling, whatever it happens to be, whatever. They have some kind of addiction or compulsion of something in life, and they swear to you they can't give it up. Whether they can't give it up because they've never even tried, they've never trained themselves to be able to give things up. Because once you've done it, it's like anything. You get used to doing something. It's like going to the gym and working out. You suck at it at first, but after doing it for a while, then you've kind of gotten into it where mentally you feel like you can do anything at that point. Or learning a musical instrument, and the kind of dedication, all the hours, thousands of hours over years that you spent, learning that discipline, or learning a martial art, or whatever it happens to be, That's, if you're not constantly challenging yourself, right, you're really not training yourself to have that kind of fortitude, that kind of willpower. It's all about willpower. It's all about just being in a mental state where you can do anything you want to do. Because many people are not in that state. Many people will tell you, there's a lot of things in life I just can't do. That's not correct, right? You can. It's just you haven't been taught, you haven't been trained to do that, and you need to train yourself. So anybody, I would say, if you're one of these people that's addicted to caffeine like me, I love my coffee, I love my tea. It's all I drink. I drink water, black coffee, unsweet tea. As far as I don't drink sodas, I don't do sugar or anything. But hey, give up caffeine for a month. See if you can do it. Or don't give up caffeine. But maybe you're one of these people that like these sugary sodas, right? Tons of calories. You're putting on weight because you drink all that sugar. Give up sodas for a month. Only do 0-calorie drinks. Diet soda, water, black coffee, unsweet tea. Do it for a month. See if you can do it. You can do it. Trust me. I know some of you, there's no way I could do that. That would be so hard. You can do it. It's really easy. I mean, when you do it, you will laugh at yourself at how easy that was. And because it's not like a physical thing. There's some physical stuff with certain things like caffeine and nicotine and things like that. But honestly, once you've done it, you're like, well, that was all in my mind. And how hard this was going to be for me to give this stuff, it was all in my mind. And you will actually be kind of disappointed in yourself that you didn't figure that out sooner. So yeah, fasting. Getting back to fasting's great. And we're running about an hour and a half now. Let's go a couple more minutes. We got some more questions there. I spent a little bit of time on the fasting topic there. Why do you use Arch Linux? Why not Fedora? Because I'm using Arco Linux right now and not Fedora. I don't know. Why? Why not? Right? They're all the same. Yeah, right. Why do you prefer workspace swapping like an Xmonad rather than a specific workspace on a specific screen like an i3? Because it just makes sense in my brain, especially when I first tried it. Because Xmonad was not the first tiling window manager I ever tried. I think I tried Awesome before I tried Xmonad. And Awesome is very similar to things like i3 and DWM as far as every monitor has its own set of workspaces, yada, yada, yada. I don't know, when I tried Xmonad, the way it handled the workspace swapping, it just immediately clicked. And it was just one of those things that's like, well, why doesn't every window manager do this? And once you've used it for a while, it's actually kind of weird on day one because it's so different. You're like, okay, this is weird. After using it for 2 weeks or so, there's no way you'd want to go back to the old way of how workspaces work. At least for me, that was the case. Let's see. What can you recommend as end-of-study project related to Linux stuff? I'm not sure exactly what if you're asking about ways to study, to learn Linux, maybe you're looking for like server administration stuff, things like that. I don't know. I'm not in that line of work, but as far as some good reading material, some books you should own, one of my favorite books is the Command Line Bible. Teach you all the standard shell utilities that you'll use in Linux. For desktop Linux, it's very appropriate, but it's mainly for people that are looking for Linux-related jobs. You know, the Command Line Bible, fantastic. There's many other books out there, but that's just one to throw out there to you. Can't give up Linux for a month, DT. Or I'm assuming you're asking, can I give up Linux for a month? Sure. Sure, I'm not that invested in my computer, to be honest. I can give up using a computer for a month very easily. You guys probably wouldn't like it, but I could do it. I am, to be honest, I'm a bit of a Luddite. I don't really like a lot of technology, especially modern technology. A lot of it I find kind of repulsive. I hate phones. I've mentioned that. Yeah, I've given up sugar and caffeine. I enjoy it, yeah. I'm doing tobacco and some drug for a bunch of years daily. I stopped all at once 6 months ago, never went back. Yeah. And it's one of these things, once you quit something, find something else that you want to quit. Or something you're not doing and you know you should be doing, you know, just pick something. You know, a lot of people imagine they can't change anything in their lives. Making major changes is difficult. But it's not. Start small. Once you've done one, it's kind of like I often say tiling window managers. Once you've configured one tiling window manager, trying out the next tiling window manager is easy because it's no longer mentally, it's not messing with your brain like this is going to be hard. No, you've done it before, right? A lot of you guys can relate to that because a lot of you guys window manager hop as much as I do, right? The first one was tough, right? The first time you got into one of these tiling window managers, it was tough. There was a learning curve, and man, you thought it was going to be hard. But when you switch to the next tiling window manager, that's easy. This was so much easier than the first one I tried. It doesn't matter what they were. Let's see, what's your opinion on cigarette smoking? I don't smoke. I don't have an opinion on it, but I don't smoke. Obviously, it's not healthy for you. I don't know. But that's not an opinion. That's just a fact. Ultimately, though, people choose to do what they want to do. Everybody makes their own decisions in life, and ultimately, I don't judge people for decisions in their life. You make the decisions right for you, and you live with the consequences of them. That's what I do. I hope people respect that, and I respect you to do whatever it is you want to do. Let's see. Reaper Audio Editor is like a window manager for audio plugins. I've never used Reaper. I hear it's great. I know most like podcasters use it. It is proprietary software though, so I've never installed it. I don't know anything about it. I'm sure it's a good piece of software though. Let's see. Yeah, I think that is it for the questions and comments. So we've been going about an hour and 40 minutes. I want to shut this down well before it gets around the 2-hour mark, especially because if I keep these things under 2 hours, usually they'll get synced over to Odyssey. So the folks on Odyssey will also be able to rewatch the stream. Hopefully, that's not always the case. Odyssey sometimes has a problem syncing these very lengthy videos, these live streams especially, because they're such big files. So I do want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Leviticus asks, am I going to the gym? No, I'm not going to the gym today, mainly because the gym I work out is just close to the office here, and I don't want to be in this part of town. So no gym today, but I went like 5 times this week. I think I went Sunday through Thursday. I didn't go yesterday. I'm not going today. I'll probably be back in the gym for leg day tomorrow morning. I'm going to go get leg day in before I watch the Super Bowl tomorrow. All right. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. Before I go, of course, I need to thank the patrons. So I want to thank the producers here. Gabe, James, Maxim, Matt, Mimit, Mitchell, Paul, Royal, Wes, Armor Dragon, Bash Potato, Chuck, Commander Angry, George, Lee, Methos, Nate, Urion, Paul, Peace Archer, Fedora, Polytech, Realities for Less, Ray Profit, Rolling Tools, Devler, and Willie. You guys didn't think I could do that live, and I kind of messed it up. But that was close enough. I want to thank those guys. I want to thank each and every one of these ladies and gentlemen as well. All of these names you're seeing on the screen right now, these are all my supporters over on Patreon. If you guys want to support my work, subscribe to DistroTube over on Patreon. All right, guys.